Redlow was talking about healer loot etiquette in dungeons. It has been a moment since I played Classic with its not so clear-cut itemization compared to other versions of WoW. So I'm a bit confused about loot etiquette in late-game dungeons, for healers in particular. Many dungeons in the endgame have loot that has spell power and healing. I'm assuming the piece does not have spell hit on it. It is acceptable for healers to roll need on those pieces if they are upgrades, or are healers only limited to rolling for plus healing gear? So, you're definitely right. It's a good example to focus on gear that has plus healing on it. But I would say usually the etiquette is if you need it, then you need it. You know, if it's going to help your team or your guild overall, usually people are okay if you roll need. And I notice on Turtle Wow, people are a little more mature about. I haven't seen too many people getting upset about loot. Usually they're more excited about doing the content together because, you know, the metas have changed. You know, there's a lot of that elitism is kind of gone, and a lot of the dungeons have been expanded. Even some to the extent that the bosses in the fights are different. So, yeah, I would say, you know, the way that I've always seen it run, even in our raids and everything like that, is if you need it, need it. If it becomes a problem, you know, usually your raid leaders will talk to you. But as a good rule of thumb, it's good to communicate when the run starts. Ask for what the loot etiquette is. Don't assume. You know what I mean? Before you guys get into the nitty gritty, it's just better to open up a line of communication with usually your raid leader, but everybody, pitching in with everybody is always good. You know, out in the chat, say, hey guys, my healing gear isn't very good. I'm looking to improve, you know, my damage and healing or my plus healing. You know, what do you guys think about rolling? What are your etiquette rules? And if you ask, it goes a long way, you know. It never hurts to ask. Communication is always good. And if people will rag on you for asking, you probably don't want to, you know, it's probably a red flag anyways, you know. So that's my take on that. I have seen this. I mean, obviously it's pretty hot in the community right now. So other people feel the same way. I might even read some of the comments to see what people think. Here in To the Library says, I would say if it's an obvious upgrade, it's kosher for you to roll on it. Yeah, that's a lot of upvotes. I guess a lot of people are agreeing with the sentiment. It's kind of what we were saying. Stack Attack 12 says healers can roll on the plus damage and healing gear if it's an upgrade. It would be great if you could familiarize yourself with what items might be pre-best in slot for caster classes, though, like Bantok Sash comes to mind. Yeah, a lot of the pre-best stuff becomes more clear over time. If you try to focus on what's your best in slot gear, you may miss, you know, stepping stones that could help you along the way, I think. So, his caveat here, Snack Attack, says general PSA. We're all here for those sweet, sweet pixels. Try to be considerate of others. We talked about this like 2 weeks ago. Yeah, be considerate of others. Being considerate goes a long way. It will make people more invested in your group, more invested in helping you as well. I think as a good rule of thumb, it's good to be considerate. He's definitely right. Stack Attack is definitely right. Redlow is saying, I get what you're saying with pre-best and slot of other classes, but there are even more dungeons and items in TWoW than in Classic. Yeah. Like I was saying, I wouldn't get too hyper-fixated on pre-best and slot. This goes to what we were talking about with damage meters and stuff too. I would focus more on just, you know, if you find something that's better, just try to roll on what's better. Other people can roll with you too. It's not a big deal. It might help you get to, you know, the gear you're looking for. And even sometimes if you focus on getting the best in slot gear 24/7, you know, you don't always get blessed or lucky with drops, right? You may not get the drop you're looking for your best in slot. So why not, you know, a bird in the hand is worth two in the bush. If it's an upgrade for you, you know, I would try to get what you can. I don't think this guy deserved a downvote for that. Let me read what he's saying here. Another thing that bothers me with this line of thinking is why should the healers take into consideration of other DPS's best in slot when DPS doesn't care? I see why I got downvoted, yeah. He got downvoted because basically he's saying you shouldn't care about other people in your group. You should. You should care about other people in your group. You should be considerate. Healers already play a role that's very much in demand. Everybody plays a role that's in demand. Everybody works together. Everybody's working together. Healers can benefit from DPS items because of the crossover. DPS cannot benefit from healer items to the same extent. Yep. Anyway, I don't want to harp on this point for too long, but I just wanted to cover it a little bit so people kind of talk about it in the community. I think it's helpful to talk